Yes, good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
Yes, so far, last week we talked about our last lesson. We talked about the living accommodation. And before we proceed, let me see Safari, Jeff, Kingori, Mutemi,
Present.
Okwiri, Angeline.
Present.
Okay, so last time we talked about what we call accommodation. Can somebody remind us of what we said accommodation is?
Living.
Yes, so far we said that when you talk about accommodation, simply we are talking about what we call a building. And we also looked at what we call the types of accommodation, whereby we are talking about the living one, working accommodation. So those are some of the things that we discussed the other time. Now, today I want us to discuss what we call the foundation. So, our main objective today, want to know what foundation is and its function. At the same time, the broad classification of foundation. So far, who can try or who can tell us what foundation is?
If I can try,
Yes,
foundation
yes,
is the lowest part of a building that supports a building.
good. Another person.
Which is the part of the building below the
The
ground
ground
level.
level. Yes, correct. All answers are correct. So when I talk about foundation, we simply refers to that part of the building that is direct in contact with the ground. Now, after you have known what foundation is, can you somebody tell us some of the function of foundation? First of all, we said that foundation, the main function of foundation is that it transmits what we call the loads. And we have got the live loads, dead loads, it transmits to the ground. And not only transmitting, but it transmit evenly. It distribute the loads evenly. So we have talked about the transmission of the loads as one of the functions of the what? The foundation. Is that right? So we have mentioned what we call the live loads. At the same time, we have talked about the dead loads. Who can tell us what dead loads? Example of dead loads?
If I can try,
Yes.
an example of a dead load is chairs,
Yes. Right. Tables.
people,
Yes. So another one we have what we call the live loads. So live loads are like human beings. Are we together?
yes,
Yes. Those are things that are alive. Sawa sawa.
yes,
Then we also talked about the broad classification of foundation. Foundation has been broadly classified into two main groups. That is, we have, yes, you can try.
and a classification of foundation.
Yes, it has been classified into two broad group. That is, we have what we call, yes,
We have strict foundation,
uh-huh,
tack foundation,
uh-huh.
step foundation.
Good. Wonderful. You can clap for yourself. So when we talk about the broad classification of foundation, we have two. That is shallow and deep. Are we together? So we have what we call shallow foundation and deep foundation. So when I talk about the shallow foundation, that one simply means that the width depth ratio. Are we together? Yes, the width or the depth of the depth of the foundation is less than the width. Sawa sawa. An example, we have the strip. that have been mentioned by the view there. That one is an example of the self foundation.
Foundation.
And when I talk about the deep foundation, that one means that the depth is greater than the width.
The way
So example, you have pile foundation, another one,
step foundation.
correct? So those are some of the types of foundation, the broad classification of foundation. Lastly, any question? Any question?
So far, so good. The context is very clear.
Good. Now, who can remind us of what we said foundation is? What is foundation? We said,
You said foundation
yes,
is the lowest part of a building
yes.
that acts like a main.
Good. Then we also looked at the function of foundation. Is that right?
Yes.
Who can remind us of one? It transmit the loads
Yeah, it transmits the loads.
to the ground. Are we together? At the
Yes.
same time, it distributes the load evenly to the ground. To the
To the
ground.
ground.
Otherwise, assignment, I want you to go and look at what we call the factors to be considered when you are choosing a types of foundation. Foundation.
Foundation.
That is the assignment. Go and look at what you call the factors to be considered when choosing a types of foundation. That one is due date. Our next lesson, we shall proceed from there. Otherwise, thank you and may God bless you.
Thank you. Have a nice day. Good.
Good.